episode of Conversations with Chan. Today I have Teja Foster with Get Social with Teja. Teja, thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for having me. It's a
So
pleasure.
let's go ahead because I was looking over your bio before we started, and you are speaking to my heart because I am very involved with voter registration, getting information out. We had an issue with, we do have the issue of school to prison pipeline here. And I'm like, okay, girl, I'm just so excited to meet someone who's just as passionate as I am because, this work is not easy with social media being here, being available. We have to be very mindful of the information we disseminate and what we do. But, because there's so many different misinformations out there, but you are leading the charge on getting the information out. You created some amazing hashtags that I have been familiar with. And I'm like, you work and also with Rock the Vote. Like, I am such a part of it. Like, I'm with Vote Early Day, National Voter Registration Day, Rock the Vote. I am
Yes.
rolling out a campaign next week about voter registration and who's on the ballot here in Stafford. I've reached out to different candidates to, I do it every election to talk to them and figure out from a citizen standpoint, what do you plan to do for the community? Because I am part of the community. I have own businesses here. You're going to affect me. Let's talk because I need to see where your head is at because you're not just going to be
Absolutely.
doing any old kind of thing in my name.
Absolutely. And that's the most important part of it because local elections are often overlooked, not heard of, or just, completely ignored. So the work that you're doing is extremely important. And people like you are the reason why people are understanding that they need to get out and vote, not just when it's a presidential election, when it's technically an off year, but there really is no off year for elections.
Nope.
Because every year we have something to vote about, we have something to talk about, and you have your own initiative that you want to push for your own community.
And see, what inspired you to get into this line? What was the catalyst that pushed you?
I really don't even remember when it was the pivot because originally I'm from Oakland. So I have been just rooted in, Black and brown pride since I can remember. I often, reflect on listening to people on Twitter talk about like, when was your first time that you had like a Black teacher? And I've had Black teachers from like preschool to like sixth grade. Like I've always been invested in, Black and brown pride in my community and giving back to people that look like me. Growing up in Oakland, that was all I saw. So it's been like a trickle down of just really like in rooted and invested in me. My mom and my grandma were both in like nonprofit, for helping people, foster care, things like that. So I've really grown up seeing the fact that, like there's different careers that you can have, there's different jobs that you can have, but the most impactful one is helping other people, whether it's you're a teacher, whether you're on the ground doing something, whether in the criminal justice work. So it's really been a long time of me being connected to issues and not really knowing how to turn that into a career to when I started to, when I graduated from college, got into my career. I started as a publicist, actually, which I feel like a lot of us do. I went to school to be a publicist and did it for a while and was just like, I'm looking at things at a digital standpoint and noticed that social media was becoming a really big pivotal matter in the digital space. A lot of things that we were requesting, for PR, like, oh, can such and such do this? And they're like, oh, you need to talk to their social media manager. They need to talk to their assistant that's running their social media. I quickly understood that was going on. So this is like 2015, before social media became a monopoly, essentially. And I pivoted myself in my career to be a social media manager because that's just literally what I wanted to do. So I did a few gigs, did a few jobs, and I came across Schools Not Prisons, which was a 14-city tour across California. We went into underdeveloped communities, we went into prisons, and we held free concerts. And this is from Miguel, Ty Dolla Sign, Pusha T, Mr. Fab, like a lot of local, like California artists, and a lot of really big names. And even with Miguel, we went to like an immigration detention center out in the city called Adelanto because his parents are immigrants.
And he's
So
from he grew up in Compton, right?
Miguel, I don't think I think he grew up in LA. I'm not
Oh,
specific on
okay.
Compton, I won't lie. But yeah, he has immigrant parents. And so a lot of, you move to LA. I moved to LA when I was about 17. The the glitz and glam is like, oh, you want to work in the industry, you want to work with celebrities and all of this stuff. I hated it. When I moved to LA, I was like, wow, I hate working with celebrities. Like, they're drag, they are like divas, they don't want to do anything you ask them to, especially as a publicist. You have a bunch of interviews lined up for them and they get back and they're like, never mind, I don't want to do that. And it's like,
Pulling teeth, girl, pulling teeth.
so finding the Schools Not Prisons tour was just like the perfect blend for me. Like, working with celebrities that care about what's going on and here for a purpose, and doing something that is for a purpose. So basically, I got that account, and it was nothing. It was started at ground zero. We did this tour, and like I said, it was like Common, Pusha T. It was all these really, really great. J. Cole did a concert for us in Sacramento. It was great. It was amazing. It was the best experience. And I essentially blew that channel out the water. Like, today, it's about 40,000 followers, verified, huge page in the Schools to Prison Pipeline community. Yes, and an active hashtag that people use that I built from the ground up. We've heard of the Schools Not Prisons hashtag for years, but it had never been branded. It had never had any, it didn't have really a face to it. So I built that face, built that tone, and built that page from the ground up. And it is definitely one of my like babies that I'm always like, oh, that was my little page and I blew it out the park and it was time to move on. But that's forever one of my pages and people always connected to me.
I love that because, originally when I moved here, that's one of the causes that I started working with and started getting involved with was the School to Prison Pipeline. And it was that, that was 6 years ago. It was a long time. Mm-hmm. It was, and I love the fact that you grew it. A brown girl, a black girl did that. Like, it's like that golden touch. And I'm so, you have to understand how amazing that is because there's a little brown girl, coming up that needs to see that we can do more than what people have told us we could do because listen, that's so major. I'm beaming because I know this hashtag. I know, how much it's popped up. I know the impact that it's had. So, girl, yes, thank you, girl.
Thank you.
I
really appreciate you.
I can't even words because my drive for community it's bigger than me in a way because it's like, our children, these brown children, black and brown children, they deserve to go to school and not be targeted. They deserve to have that, that experience in school where they're, just because they have an emotional breakdown, they should not be going to the resource officer. They should be going to someone to help them cope and help them, the school therapist to talk about their issues. And this is one of the, yes, thank you, girl.
Of course. Thank you for understanding how important it is because it sometimes it not frustrates me, but I'm only doing this really poignant work in California, but like we need it across the United States. We need it across America because it's happening literally everywhere.
It is, and it's not talked about. Like we see the end result, the glitz and the glamour. We don't see the work that's put in because there's, we do a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get this done.
A lot of mental work.
Yeah. Because even when you see the parents who are like, listen, my child just had a bad day. And, they have a record now and they're 5. I'm like, see, this is unacceptable. This is really unacceptable.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So I want to know about your work with She the People.
Oh yes, She the People. That's my new baby. We got She the People last year in 2020, right before the pandemic hit, which was kind of like the pivotal moment when I started my agency. It was a very weird moment because I was coming into the election. I was working with Rock the Vote and I needed an assistant. I knew I needed some help for 2020 with the election going on. I was still just freelancing and working on my own. And I came across She the People. They needed some digital help. And they're like, oh, we only need a couple posts a day. We're just looking at something low level. And the pandemic hit. And, in the social justice work, Black and brown people were hit the hardest. Yep. So a lot of my smaller clients that were just like, oh, we just need a little bit of help, they turn into mega clients, She the People included. They are a political agency made up of women of color that push and support women of color getting into office at the local level, as well as all the way up to Kamala Harris, who we helped get into office last year, with working with the Joe Biden administration and registering people and getting the word out and building lists all the way down the ballot to make sure we are seen and we are, pushed through for everything that we're doing. So that was definitely a dream to work on, fell into my lap, and it became like, a part of history, literally, which was amazing to see and to be a part of, truly.
See, okay, you make me smile, girl. Because, after I finish this legal apprenticeship program, get my little Esquire, my goal is to run for office. So,
yes,
I will definitely, just slide my name in there.
Absolutely. Please do. That's all we're looking for. We're doing our homework of where are the Black women, where are the Asian women, where are the Hispanic women that are running for office that we can help push forward, that we can make their names known, even at a local level, to put pressure on people. That's the best Twitter campaign are people from other areas advocating for you, to remind people in your community too that here.
I was so honored to work with a woman here, a delegate here. Well, not a delegate. We were on a run, but she's a city councilwoman. But she's always been in the community. Her name is Cindy Neville. I'm going to say, when I say she puts the good in good trouble.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, that's a force to be reckoned. I'm so happy to know her, work with her, be around her, and be in her space. You have... everything is on time. You gotta understand, because I didn't read your bio beforehand, and just sitting here reading, I was like, it's like, how you get reminded of things that you want to that you're supposed to do. I was reminded on Thursday, you need to run for office. I was like, okay, I got my plan. Then this morning, and then it was a note that I had for myself that popped up. I was like, I got it. You ain't got to push me.
Those are your signs.
Yes, you don't have to push me too much. Okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. I get it. But this is even, oh my gosh. So, I'm in awe, because it's girl, people.
A lot of people tell me that. I'm always just I sometimes don't know if I've taken everything in that I've done, as a whole landscape. Because when I tell people, they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we did that.
Because it's here, just here in this area for the last 6 years, I used to host voter registration drives. No one would show up. I would still sit there for 6 hours, and then one person to show up. And to me, that was great. Now, because of after the pandemic is, now it's become a thing. And I'm like, you all are getting it for the heart of it, not just to be seen, but to make the impact and let people understand.
Oh, absolutely. That's probably been my campaign this last year, of people, choosing how they chose in this last election, and being like, oh, well, he's not doing what I want him to do, and he's not da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what a president is. And there's never been a president that's just been mind-blowingly amazing. That politics aren't amazing. It's going to take you voting for the next 10 to 15 years consistently in local elections, in federal elections, in every single election, to have change that you actually want to see. Just because you're putting in the greater good, or the less evil, doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to change. This is a country built on decades, centuries of racism.
It's systematic. You're not going to
change it with one election.
You can't. And people the last president could do it. Those laws that are going on now had nothing to do with the sitting president. Did y'all not pay attention to civics?
And the other problem is some people weren't offered civics.
See, and that's where, and I'll say this. My dad made sure that I knew what was going on, and he made sure that I understood, listen, voting is key. He goes, you know how many people died so that you can vote? I'm from South Carolina. That should just say it right there. I'm from South Carolina. The amount of turmoil, it wasn't even y'all gotta understand, it's recent. This is not in the last, this is
your history.
Yeah, this is our current history, where people died to go to vote, to be able to vote. They paid these taxes to go vote. They had to do literacy tests.
Yep, I was about to say, test and everything.
Like y'all, like, and then like, oh, my vote don't matter. Yes, it does. It wouldn't be such an issue if it did not matter.
Absolutely. They wouldn't be trying to take it away if it wasn't that
No.
big of a deal.
If it was, listen, you don't fight for something you really don't want. That's what I'm saying. Like, they wouldn't put all these barriers. If like, listen, I can't even. What keeps you what keeps you motivated? Like,
I think what keeps me motivated is the fact that my work is impactful, and I am afraid if I'm not doing this work, then who is?
yep,
Because we get our clientele has gone from, we started off with 3 clients, and I think we're about 10, 11 now, and our clients range from climate change, voting rights. We work on one organization that we pass a lot of the California police brutality bills. So we're still actively working really with the school to prison pipeline, just in a different avenue, as well as doing things on the scale of Black Lives Matter. We work with Ava DuVernay on a channel called Leap Action that puts, instead of necessarily blasting the Black people that have been murdered by the hands of police officers, we're putting the stories of the police officers' names out there, so we can remember who they are, because they're the ones that continue to live.
yep.
They get laid off, they move to another jurisdiction, a little bit under the radar. They get to go have another job and continue to live their lives and not get any conviction for this murder they committed. And she's trying to put them on blast. She's buying billboards in their home cities, like, this person murdered this Black person.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that some people need to know. If we gotta know about pedophiles and different people and sexual offenders, we gotta know about murderers in our neighborhood.
Exactly.
We just doing God's work. That's all.
Stuff gets swept under the rug all the time by the police. When it was George Floyd's murder, Derek Chauvin that murdered him, it pulled up his rap sheet and it was like, oh, he has a history of intimidating Black people and some weird stuff going on, and and now all of a sudden he's still out on the streets, and now he's murdered another person and it's high profile. Now they have to do something about it.
And that's what I don't understand. Like, y'all knew these people was crazy. I'm not saying that
White supremacists.
I just don't think that people understand, like, there are bad apples in the bunch. Get those apples out and the ones who enable those bad apples. That's all I'm saying.
And take away their $3 million budgets a year to drive around in Teslas.
I want to drive around in a Tesla. Never mind.
You want to drive around in a Tesla? You want your police officer driving around in one?
I mean, what they need what they need it for? Okay, you know what? Somebody need to answer questions, because I just feel as if. See, this is why you need to vote people and know what's in these budgets. Okay.
Exactly.
Because this is one of these are the questions I ask candidates. What do you plan on doing? Like, what are your core beliefs and values that you want to implement? Like, you will have to do your due diligence and understand, like, who you cast your vote for has a direct impact on you, your children, your children's children, those children's children. Like, it just keeps rippling. And if you make not a poor choice, but an uninformed choice, you done doomed us to what we experienced not too long ago. We just came out of a traumatic relationship. I think we all need therapy.
Still got PTSD.
Hello? I'm just like, we all need a hug and some therapy, because goodness, vote. Like, I'm sorry.
No, voting is it's a whole thing. And even to, the people in my community and people that I, know, they look to me as like that person.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I voting for? I do guides every year for local level elections, for federal elections, and let people know, like, I know it's frustrating when you get there. You don't know who these people are. It's made to confuse us. Yep. The ballot is made to confuse Black and brown people, period, point blank. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. So, like, here's a cheat sheet. Here are people that they're not going to be who you want, but they're going to be for the greater good. They're the ones that at least align with some of your values that can help push us to the next level. But you're not going to get anybody that you're just, like, head over heels for. People were head over heels about AOC. They were upset about some changes that she made once she got elected. But I'm like, you guys don't understand this game of politics. Sometimes they don't have any choice. Their hands are tied, but you got to put that person in the office so they can, at least for the next person, they can get
Yep.
their wishes in and push forward.
Because sometimes you have to concede to win. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So
And it's the
there,
unfortunate game we play.
it's a game, and this is where, like, and I credit my dad and my great grandmother for always saying, you gotta, the game that you have to play sometimes to get ahead is the game, like, you're gonna take some losses because for the greater good. And I didn't realize that until watching the elections here unfold here in Stafford. I can only talk about Stafford because this is we've had some significant losses, but we've had some great gains. You know, we, like, county clerk, people don't understand how big of a deal that role is in a county. You know, they make the decisions on how we can file, how people can pay for their fees, their fines, you know, how they can actually get to court, how the dockets are actually, like, the county clerk is like the nerve center, right? We, instead of many, like in 2015, instead of voting in someone who was a judge who's familiar with the legal system, we got someone who just worked in the office with not as much knowledge, even though, but she's been here for a long time, so they wanted to keep the status quo. But we're still antiquated where we have to go in and it be there by 4 o'clock. If you're not, you can't pay fines online, you can't download forms, you have to go in. And so we were implementing, one candidate wanted to bring kiosk and actually have accessibility, because we live in a metro area where the traffic is bad. You got to leave at 1 o'clock to get here by 4 o'clock, even though it's like 30 miles. You know what I'm saying? So this, she wanted to make a difference. She was a judge. She had a degree, like, she was there. She lived in this area. She understood how this area worked, but she was a judge. And because people had their own little agenda, their own views, they voted in someone who kept us into the status quo. So when the pandemic hit, when they closed the courthouse, do you really think nothing moved? If
Nope,
we were
nothing happened.
digitized and able to do things online, things would have kept moving. You know, domestic cases would have kept going. Like, all of these things would have kept running. But no.
People don't realize, I mean, of course, there's no way to prepare for a global pandemic, but it's important to realize that, like, things have to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And because if we're not moving with the times, we'll be back 10 years when it's the most important time. And
Yep.
we're going through that right now in Los Angeles. Like, to register for your business right now, it's taking like 2-3 months. Marriage license. I got married in June. I got married last month, and there's still no appointments to have a marriage. Thank you. To have a marriage, there's no appointments available to have a marriage license, and all of these things that Los Angeles should be, and we're extremely far behind. And Eric Garcetti hasn't put us in the digital time at all. It came to voting, he did, but, like, just like you said, the LA County Clerk in Stone Age still.
And that's in the direct impact on citizens, because you don't pay your fine, there's a warrant out for your arrest. Your check gets garnished, but you in jail, so you ain't got no check. So then
And how do you even find out that you have a warrant for your arrest?
you
If you're
can't.
changing addresses, you can't even go look it up. You can't go run your name and be like, what has, if I'm driving around and I'm doing things, is my license suspended? Do I have a warrant out? I can't even look that information up. I have to get pulled over, embarrassed, and pulled into jail, pay a bail, and a whole situation. Why?
And that system within itself is like, it's like a constant stream of ways to make money off of the poorest and the most hard hit of the community. Like, you're fleecing, you know, it's like a Ponzi scheme, and we don't even like it's. Child, if y'all don't get y'all behinds out and register to vote and vote,
We registered over 2 million people with Rock the Vote last year, with the 2020 election. I've been working with them since 2018, and and a lot of the digital presence that they had was me being there ahead of the curve and at least giving them a presence, rebranding them, doing all of that work. So in 2020, when the shit hit the fan, we were prepared. We were ready. We had the networks, we had the connections, we had the social media presence, and working my ass off. You know, like, those 2 million voters, registered voters, is a lot of hard work of us pouring ourselves into our work and getting it in the right places, you know, and even amidst a global pandemic, still registering that many people
Yep.
was amazing, because we still had probably over 1 million that checked their voter registration status, wanted to make sure they were still valid, because there's a lot of voter suppression with that going on in different states. So, you know, like it all makes a difference, and it's all worth it. And even if you don't know when you're going to vote, get registered so you won't run into any issues.
Hey, thank you. And that's one. You know, I actually use Rock the Votes portal on some of my marketing because of the fact that people recognize it. Because if I use our local one, it's kind of antiquated, and I did a whole video on how to check it here for Stafford County. But if you go to Rock the Vote, that portal is easy. Vote early day also is easy. Like those things, having these portals and these things available are imperative. And I'm loving the fact, like, you're the reason why I see it all the time. You're like, oh. I'm like, okay, I'm just so happy to see that. Like, this makes me smile so much because it's a cause that's close to my heart. But it's like to know that there's someone who looks like me behind it just makes it even sweeter.
And that's super important. And that's actually why I opened up my agency. So my agency is, I always call us, that small but mighty, because we have big hitter clients, but we've grown. It's probably about 8 or 9 of us now. But I only employ women of color because I think that is it's important to me. I know that most of the issues that go on in America affect women of color the most. True. Whether it's, anti-abortion laws, just people trying to, censor our bodies, censor our speech, and everything that happens, it is impacted the most by us. And I always noticed in this field, when I started back in like 2015, it was just made up of so many white men thinking that they could be the ones as a voice for what we're going through. And it's like, how are you working in a school to prison pipeline and doing all this activist work? I appreciate your allyship, but like, you do not understand. You do not have families impacted by this. You don't have generations impacted by this. So how are you standing here, a white man, taking up space for people of color that could be actually getting this message out? Yeah. So
they haven't experienced.
They have no experience at all. And it mind blew me how many white men were in this space taking up space. So I only employ women of color, and it is, one, a safe work environment, because we all know how it is to work with men. We all know how it is to work with white women.
Listen, that's why I'm a full-time entrepreneur.
And that pushed me too, because I just wanted it to be by myself. I was like, I'm fine with being freelance, waking up and going to sleep when I want to, getting back to my clients. But it was at a moment for me, like, okay, do I want to help women of color advance and have a career and push us into spaces that, we're needed, that could be taken over by a white person or a white team or some digital agency that doesn't really know what they're doing? Or can I put myself out there and take this risk on myself and open up my own agency? And so I did it. And even the feedback I get from my clients as well as from my team, they're like, I don't even know what I would have done if I wouldn't have like found an agency like this, where, it's like we're talking in one big like group chat. There's no underlying tones. It's just none of that old traditional workplace like values. It's completely out the window. Like, it's your first day of your period, take the day off. I know you're cramping. I know that it hurts. Like, like,
girl, listen,
like,
where do I apply? Where do I apply?
But it's things that like people don't understand about us. Like when Derek Chauvin was convicted, we have to respond to things like that. And it's like, okay, let's get our responses up on our channels. We're taking the rest of the day off. This is a lot on us mentally. Like, I know we're all going through it, and I'm feeling it. I broke down crying when it happened, so I can only imagine what's going on with you guys. But it's about being mindful and creating a space where, this work is so hard that you need people to want to show up.
Yeah.
I mean, even like you said, like, what's your motivation? What's your drive? And it's like, to know that we're making an impact, but knowing that we're also putting our mental health first, because I can't just be drilled into doing all this and not take time for myself. That's mentally draining. And I think that's what is missing in the social justice workspace. People are just so used to being drilled because things are happening so rapidly. But it's like, sometimes you got to take some time off, even if it's a Friday, a Wednesday in the middle of the week. Take some time to yourself.
I spoke to her name is Bridget McGowan. She told me, she's like, no one said your work week had to be Monday through Friday. And no one said that you have to be there. You work, get your work done, and then take your break, because you don't want to be, you don't want to get burnt out. And I did not realize that until I sat down and I was like, I could do a lot in 5 hours and go on about my business. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was like, if I don't put a full 10 hours in, I'm not doing my part. And I was like, wait a minute.
Don't let Twitter screw you, make you think that you need to be drilling and stand like this at the computer screen all day. No.
And I'm like, and I'm so much more conscious of that now. And if I do something that is really, like, sometimes when I'm writing a lot and I'm reading people's stories and I'm writing, you're right, it's draining. Because it's like, sometimes I'm in tears because some people have been through so much and they're sharing their story. And I'm like, listen, I can't, this is just too much. And I have to set it down. Because it's like in social work is even just read now, it's the push of, we have about 12 to 15 people who are running for office right now. We have school board, we have board of supervisors, we have delegates. That's just on a local level, reading about each one of them. And then sometimes some of the stuff is like, why would you say that? It's like this is who we have to choose from. It's draining because it's like, you don't want to say what, I have to be nonpartisan. I have to be, just have to state the facts. But it's like, Lord, I want to say, if you vote for this person, you are a fool. Like, I can't say that because
you are screwing us over.
Like, please don't do this to us. They're a nice person, but, you know what I'm saying? But
I mean, imagine running Rock the Vote, during a Trump administration, when it's clear your message is, get this man out of office because this shit is ridiculous. And you have to be like, oh, if you care about climate change and blah, 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 like having to make it look real pretty. And Rock the Vote got a lot of flack for that because I made sure we took stances. We Black Lives Matter over here, yes. And we are with defunding the police because it's not abolition. We are talking about taking away a $3 million budget per year that they don't need. And that is $3 billion really. But people were, oh, you guys are supposed to be nonpartisan. And I'm like, look, if it's a matter of right or wrong here,
right,
we're going to be on the right side of history. It's not about, we're not saying that, we're against Trump, but if you're taking that as we want children out of cages on border patrol and, people to seek asylum freely, then that's just the end game that you have. But we're going to say what's right, and we're not going to be with what's wrong. We're going to be on the right side of history. So that's on you.
And some of the things that people are upset about, I'm like, are you serious?
Don't even get me started.
Like, are you serious? You
the
really
trolling
bad?
Accounts and the trolling that we get, I'm just like, sir.
I hate to see it. There should be a quiz on who can be allowed on social media. Test some of this, because some of the misinformation about voting. I had an older woman come up to me and say, if I vote, I'm going to lose my social, so my benefits. No, ma'am. I don't know why someone would tell you that, but it was a clear indication, like, this is why they don't want you to vote, because, and then she told that to her child, and then her child I was like, no, all of y'all need to register to vote and go cast your vote. They can't take anything away from you if you vote for someone. Like, that's not acceptable. It's like, when you hear that, I was so angry. And I'm like, this is the misinformation that's given, and this is the misinformation that a lot of people, they are seeing and they don't understand.
And that was the issue with Facebook. Facebook played a lot of, part in that. They were running ads of people, putting out misinformation, which is why it's so hard to put a political ad up now, because they let it run so rampant that people were probably seeing ads for stuff exactly like you're saying that is completely not true, and they were just letting it fall through the cracks and getting out to millions of people.
And that's, to me, it's like, and I don't understand, but I saw it on Facebook. People got on their own websites y'all can go to. Y'all don't have to just because Ray posted it on Facebook don't make it true, okay? Tell Ray to find some other business to post about. He's not the news.
Find another topic, child, because he do not know.
No, and it's like, you all, to bring that into a conversation. Well, I saw it on Facebook. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because it's like, you don't want, because I have an accounting client, right? And there was that myth about the limit that you can hire your children, right? There's a whole thing,
Hmm.
create an LLC and then apply for the loan. She's like, if y'all don't stop following this
This is
BS,
fraud. You're going to jail, sir.
like how to go to jail 101. Like this is how social media has become the go-to. Like I just wish we could go back when I was back in the 2000s when we didn't really have this and we had to go to the library. We had to go somewhere to get the information for real because they just y'all just get on Facebook and do anything.
We're living in a land of misinformation. I mean, even with COVID, it's like it's just our new normal now, and people have to really decipher what information they take in and like what is verified. And people just only read headlines, which is a part of our next problem, you know. And there's places like The Onion that people think is still real, and The Onion is funny, and most of the time their headlines be like, that kind of sounds true. But people are like also just reading really bad headlines and taking it and running with it.
Running with it, creating memes with photos and things. Like y'all really not gonna click and read the whole article. Like there are like 12 paragraphs of information here, and
And
all
that's when
y'all
they're like,
see.
12? I'm not reading all that.
Like you could tell who did the projects in school and who just did the
The
read the
group
cliff
assignments?
notes.
Seriously.
I you have no like this gave me like what do you have coming up soon?
Coming up, living in the world of social justice, I have a lot of NDAs on my table, but but we are in the political space. We are gearing up for election season, technically.
Mm-hmm.
There are some really big elections that are happening this year and really gearing up for next year, too. In California, we're hoping to stop a recall for Gavin Newsom that's going on, who's our governor, who's a Democrat, because we have Caitlyn Jenner wanting to run against our governor. Mm-hmm.
You better run them. Never mind.
The land of social media lights thinking that they can be politicians. And really gearing up for Atlanta next year. Well, Georgia next year. Stacey Abrams will be running for governor. Warnock, who we got in the Senate, will be running for Congress. There's so many of those like small but big wins that exactly what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, voting locally, which is the really, really biggest impact of the elections that we can do. We don't have a presidential election coming up soon, and I really am trying to get people's mind wrapped around that this is not the end, you know.
Correct.
Even with She the People, you know, that's another element of gearing up for elections. You know, we're getting together our list of down ballot women, who to look out for in the local level. So definitely send me over the woman you're talking about, because
Oh,
that's exactly the type of stuff we're looking for.
there's someone in California too. She ran for Long Beach City Council, Sharifa Hardy. She's running.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my good.
I'm familiar with her. Yes, yes.
That's
Exactly.
that's one of my good. Like I love her to death, and I'll get on a plane right now if she called me. She need me. I'm there because she she is the epitome of I'm gonna speak my mind. She is so mean. We are yes.
I love that. So yeah, so getting ready for all of that. We have I want to say I mean we're still, you know, battling the pandemic. We have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of clients that are COVID, you know, COVID-19 based or overall health wellness for Black people kind of organizations, whether it becomes like HIV/AIDS testing, you know, knowing about climate change and how, you know, racial justice is affecting climate change and everything up and down the spectrum that is year long for us, really. Like our antiquated fight that we are fighting day and night that never really has a time period. So we are gearing up for tons and tons of new projects. And, you know, as you saw, even with last year, all of the green light campaigns that Black people got, we're really starting to see a lot of those grants and a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
things come into light where people are hitting me up like, hey, we got this grant going in through, you know, in October. So for us, we are growing. I'll tell you that. My agency, like I said, it was me and an assistant last March, and now we are 9 women strong across America. We're all remote. I even my designers out in Mexico. I'm like trying to find all of the best that, you know, all the best women that I could find across the spectrum, because we are so vibrant, we're so different, and I love coming together and really putting our minds together. We had a really big client with a lot of the Stop AAPI hate movement that was going on called CS Unite. We did a special with MTV and VH1 that aired in May, actually. These last 3 months have been crazy. But we did a really huge show with them that, like I said, aired. And what I loved about them specifically, that it was Black and Asian solidarity. So it wasn't just about, stopping AAPI hate. It was also that Black people are not our enemies. And there are so many Asian and Black people that have come together, and our history of Asian and Black solidarity, from Yuri Kumiyachi and Malcolm X, Bruce Lee, and a lot of his contributions that he did. So I also am looking forward to a lot of the mixing that we can do to show people that the social media, and these people don't care about us and we're on one side and stop worrying about them. Like, no, like, we are all under attack in completely different ways. And it really should be white people against us. Like, we should not be disintegrating amongst ourselves at all.
No, not at all. I think it's one of those things that people need to understand. Like, if we show our solidarity. Once, a fist is, when we have everybody together, no one can knock us down. Like, you gotta understand, like, we have to take our wins and also do, make the great partnerships that we do have. Like, y'all gotta understand, we are in the same neighborhood sometimes. All of,
Yes.
the minorities are really literally in the same neighborhood sometimes. So, you really...
And there's that connotation that Asian people don't suffer. They think of Crazy Rich Asians and, Asian people they're smart at math. And it's like, stop letting these stereotypes, or like, that you see and that you've grown with, be stuck with you. Because you guys debunk one thing, but then the stereotype that you see and flashing in front of you, you believe that one. And it's like, so which one is a lie and which one is the truth? Like, it can't all be, So it a lot of those things is what we're fighting for, to show that, like, stop with the, like, bickering and trying to be against each other. Like, I only see one enemy, and that is a white man. So
I mean, we gotta see where did the problem start? Let's just ask yourself, where did everything begin?
Columbus.
Up here talking about you ain't discovered nothing. But hey,
exactly, always our issue. So that's really what is up for us. We are, like, willing to take on clients that are willing to create change. I've dropped clients where I'm just like, you don't really need our help. Like, you have the funding, or you have the impact, you have the people around you, and there's not much moving, or, it's kind of stagnant. I'm like, we have to move on to help someone that really needs the help, that needs the digital presence, that needs some flipping, that needs the design work, that might not have the big enough budget to hire, 7 people for a digital team, which we need nowadays, which is why people come to us, because I'm like, I'm a one-stop shop. You play this flat rate. We have everything in-house. We do your design. We take care of your videos. We take care of your day-to-day posts. We have strategy. Exactly. Instead of trying to hire this whole digital team in-house and spend $300,000 a year, you could come to me and empower a Black-owned agency ran by women of color.
See, I love this. I love this. Like, I'm currently rearranging. I have to get this, like, this. Y'all gonna get this conversation ASAP. Okay, so
I'm trying to get this out.
I got this, because it's like, I was so scared about my campaign next week. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally afraid. But this shows me that I need to do what's necessary. I need to speak. I need to keep letting people know. And I was like, dang, I don't think people, like, is this just me? And I'm like, no one's paying attention. But then whoever needs to hear it, whoever needs to, past partners that I've worked with, at the library, and, they're like, you coming back? What are you going to do? I'm like, okay, cool. I'm on it. But this just gave me another boost to help me, like, girl, you better do what you're supposed to do out here in these voting streets, because
I love it. I'm so happy that that's what you took from this, because everything is a sign, wholeheartedly.
It is, but it's like, y'all, just to see who's behind, because for some odd reason, Black women have the ability, like, I'm only speaking from experience, we can speak in so many different languages. Like, we could speak, we could actually code switch enough to where we can create a campaign or create a pitch or create a thing that everybody can understand. And I think that's the secret, the sauce that we have, is that we adapt to anything, and it's the golden touch that we have. Like, yes, girl.
We do everything.
Yes.
And
So,
especially when you're a Black woman, it's like, ooh.
listen, I came up from corporate America. I realized, like, I had to do I was so many different persons. This is why multiple personalities exist, because I've had to be so many different ways for people to actually, to receive the message that I'm giving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, dang, we should receive Oscars, Tonys, and all these awards, because we are in here. And this, I'm so glad you're providing a safe space where women could be themselves, Black women, brown women could be themselves and be comfortable and not deal with, and why are you here? That question and that look of condescension.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Being looked at like you're the quota for the diversity that we need. And it's like, no, you're not. You're needed and you're wanted in this space, and we all look like you too.
And I love that, because it's like, I can't.
You know, think about how many times you've only been the Black woman in a room.
Girl, that's
Or
been
the
my
only
entire
woman.
career. My entire career, I've always been the only one, even in school. Like, a lot of classes, I was the only one. Like, this is not this. I can't be comfortable. I'm sitting up here just, okay, let me just get through this. Now raise my voice, watch my tone, my eyes, like, watch my facial expressions, everything. It's one of those things that you're so hypersensitive to everything. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I have a daughter and I have two sons, and I told my son the other day, I said, I don't want you to experience what I went through, because there's no reason why you should be going to therapy after you clock out of work.
Seriously.
So
And so many people do it.
I was one of them. Like, girl, I almost lost my edges, and that is not okay. I almost lost my edges. Was leaving. Like, no, we're not gonna do this. You're not gonna have
Not
me.
the edges.
Girl, my edges was at risk of being gone because of the stress. No, ma'am. That's where I draw the line. See, like, I draw the line. But it's that space, and girl. So please tell the listeners and the viewers where they can find you and connect.
Yes. So I am obviously all online. You can search me. My Instagram name is Teja Tej, TejaATej. And that's really across Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm Teja Smith. I recently got married, made a name, Teja Foster. But you can find me on all of those. Our website is getsocialwithteja.com, and that's TEJA. So Get Social with Teja. Really, you can Google that and pretty much find all of my links, all of people talking about me. Google Teja Foster. You'll see some articles, some other things about me. If you guys want to dig into the background, know about the work that we've done, it is all online. One of those Google me moments. But definitely follow me on Instagram. I am active in talking about things that are coming up. And stay in a lot of hip hop culture and talking about a lot of the racism and misogyny and homophobia that goes on in our community too. So if you're looking for some little debrief entertainment, you can always follow me on there for that too.
Because baby, that is a whole nother conversation. But
exactly.
I thank you so much for talking to me today. I definitely will be in touch. Because this is so beautiful. This made my morning. Like, this made me.
No, thank you.
I'm about to get in here and get some work done after I open my box. So
open your Telfie.
Yes, because I'm excited. Like, my goal, we already know my goal. One for every day of the week. But, I've started out. I'm good. I'm just going to, as they drop, I'm gonna have to support but I'm
yes,
gonna,
keep buying black, because that's what I'm gonna keep doing. All of this, like I said, I got the Brandon Blackwood back here. I got a Telfie down here. Like, let's do it all.
Yes, because that's where I'm going next online. I need that bag. But I thank you so much for talking to me this morning. You are so amazing. And okay, listen, you're giving me I can't even smile enough, but
It's
you
so
all
funny.
follow her, check her out, and then also make sure you like, comment, and share this, and let people know exactly what's going on. And that's all I have. I'm
Thank you so
sorry.
much for having me, Chan. No, I really, it was great talking to you. Someone that's actually passionate about the work that I do and really understands a lot of this grunt work that goes into it. Because people just think that I wake up and I'm like, oh, here's a tweet, here's all the elections, and I just tweet on it on Twitter and put up Instagram posts, and it's like, no, like it is a lot of research, it's a lot of deep diving, and a lot of history that you have to go through to really understand this stuff. So I appreciate you for being so understanding of all of this work.
Thank you, because listen, I'm here for it. I'm like, I can't stop smiling because you are, okay, I'm not alone. I am good.
Yes, and that's important too, for
Yes.
real.
So can you give me really quick? Can you give me just some words for those who are considering or not considering getting out to vote and making and casting? You know, what would you leave them with?
Honestly, when I hear that question, it kind of comes to, if what happened last year didn't wake you up, didn't open your eyes to what is going on around you and the legacy or the history that you're going to leave for your children, I absolutely don't know what else to tell you. It was right in front of our faces. Um, the importance of having that, like I said, Joe Biden may not have been for you. And presidents are not really for everyone. There has never been a great president. So this decision that a lot of us have, that like, well, I'm not voting because I don't really like any of the candidate. You aren't going to like the candidate probably until you're 60 years old.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to vote now, that when you're 60 and your children are 30 and your great grandchildren are 10 or whatever, that they have someone that they can look up to, a cleaner street, a healthier environment. And God forbid that we don't go through climate change and the world is disintegrated anyway. Um, so if there's any message that's needed, it's about the people that come after you, because it's greater than just you. It's not about just what you think. It's about literally a legacy that we have to leave on our own generation and our own people. Like we've come from slavery to fighting for voting rights to the space that we're in now. And it's like, for you to stop on account of just to yourself, for all these people that have fought for you before, it's just selfish at this point. And you got to dig into our history to really understand the importance of doing stuff like that while you're here, because you only get one life.
Thank you so much for that. That's all we need to say today. I thank you so much. You have a great rest of your day. I am going to have a great rest of my day because you just